Hi everyone, Mike here. Quick look at my latest game, Long Range Recon Patrol. Just come available on Amazon sites worldwide, and my copy has just arrived, so here we are. Quite pleased with the cover. Bit of information on the back there to have a read of if you want to. You can see those on Amazon anyway. So we've got the inside cover. This is a Vietnam based book and is obviously about long range recon patrols, which involved small groups, usually around 6 guys, being dropped behind enemy lines in order to achieve various sort of covert based missions. So it's a stealth game at heart, but it will have bursts of action as you are spotted from time to time by the enemy. And there's a range of different sorts of missions. There are 10 missions in the game altogether, and some are pure sort of recon missions. Others involve reconning certain places, or one involves destroying a convoy as it passes through the map. One involves grabbing an enemy officer from a small village and escaping with him. There's one where everything's just gone wrong and you have to kind of just get out, where there's obviously lots of enemies on the map looking for you. One or two other things, but that's what it is. So as usual, you've got a good few pages of rules, plenty of diagrams in this one, lots of colour and examples, and all the charts are fully explained as you go through all this, through the rules here. So we've got what sort of, 4 to 27 pages, about 23 pages of rules, but you can see they're pretty sparse. The typeface is fairly large, and as I say, there are lots of diagrams, some of which do take up quite a big chunk of the page. So not too onerous, and can be played as a campaign. So there's rules there for playing it as a campaign. Stringing 4 missions together, trying to get through them all and getting points for each one, and then the end sort of tells you how you've done. The key there is to win. It's not just to beat your own score. To win, you have to win the 4 missions in a row, and if you do that, then you get a score just to see how well you've won by. But the key thing is to win, of course. And then, as usual, you've got the maps here on the right hand side, and the charts and tables on the left. These change for each, certainly down here, these change for bits of this, change for each mission. Map on the right hand side, everything you need to know over here. So once you've read the rules maybe a couple of times, these charts will be sufficient for you to do what you need to do without having to keep flicking back to the rules. All the information is on here, so it looks complex, but it's not really. As ever, you can really be rough with these books. Remember, look at this, I'm pushing this right down here, and that will help just to lay nice and flat. You can see there already. I could quite happily throw some counters, tokens, whatever on there, and they would they'd move around quite happily. Nice and flat on there, easy. Yeah, so I know people say they don't like to break the spines of books. It doesn't really do that with these because they're quite narrow. It's actually just bends. You can see they're down the edge of the front, so it doesn't really affect the appearance of the book at all, I don't think. But obviously, each to your own. The maps will go on to Board Game Geek, as I always do, after a little period of time, not too long, but I will get the maps on there. Just need to split the file out and so on. So there are 10 missions. They're all different. So the maps are different, you can see there. The charts are all different. So lots of variety. Each mission is very replayable in itself as well. Setup is randomised to some degree. And obviously what happens in the game is quite random as well. You've got at the back there a campaign record sheet to keep details of the 4 missions you play in your campaigns. Obviously you can copy that. I'll put that onto Board Game Geek. In fact, I already have done, just waiting at this time for approval for that to come through. But that'll be on there for you to print off if you want to. And the counters are there. Again, they are already on Board Game Geek, so you can download them from there if you don't want to cut out this page. Although you could remove this page quite happily. mount it on some medium card and just cut the tokens out. Yeah, it takes about 20 minutes to do it. It's really straightforward. I've done videos on how to do that, so do look for those if you need a bit of help. So you can see those counters there. There's probably more than you need there. So you could probably miss out a couple of these enemy units. Also, some of the, for completeness, I like to put a full set in, but a lot of these are just markers. So, you could literally just use cubes for, you don't really need a pinned token. You can just use any old, counter, cube, button, whatever you've had to have laying around the house or in other games or whatever. Again, these are markers for your meds, your water, and your claymores, how many you've got. So they're just markers on a counter. So you can just use anything for that, as you could for the time of day marker. For claymores, you could use anything you had laying around. The cover marker again could be anything. The extraction zone could be anything. So I mean, really, you don't need the counters at all, is what I'm saying. You could use coloured cubes quite happily, as long as you know what the colours equate to. But I know a lot of people do like to use the counters, and if so, there they are. As I say, they're not difficult to make. I really would urge you to have a go. I know, certainly I always used to shy away from print and play games. Not that this is print and play, obviously you're getting the thing here. But I appreciate that some people are reluctant to try this sort of game because they think, oh, I've got to do some stuff, but that, it really is easy. You can literally just cut that out with a pair of scissors, slap a bit of, thin layer of glue on the back there, put it on a cereal packet or something, and just cut it out carefully, and you've got, a load of counters that are perfectly adequate for the game and will serve you well. Or you can print that, as I say, off Board Game Geek or photocopy or whatever. I actually like to print it out onto a full page label, which then peels off and sticks onto a piece of card, and then I cut that out. So, there are different ways of doing it. As I say, I've made videos to show you how easy that is to do. And I guess, I've said it before, said it again, no doubt, but when you consider the cost of this book, which is about 15 quid or, I don't know, about $18 or something, compare that to a boxed game, which might set you back, $50, $60, $70 at least. For 20 minutes work, it gives you a pretty good game. And the real advantage is you're getting 10 different maps in here rather than, perhaps just the one or two you might get in a boxed game where you're playing the same game again and again. So, lots of variety, pretty good value, I think. And that's my latest game. I suppose I should say something about the game itself. I've done some playthroughs for you to have a look at. There are terrain features on here. It is a sort of limited action game again, and so you roll dice to see what your LERP team can do, but there's plenty of options for you there. It's not a frustrating game in that you will, almost always be able to use the dice you roll. It's just a case of working out what you can use them for and the best way to use them depending on what's actually happening on the map at the time. So, if you need to move, you'll almost certainly roll. In fact, it's impossible not to roll at least one move. But usually you'll be rolling 2, 3, 4 move options. It's just whether you want to use all those to move when, you could use some to attack or to, do lots of other things on this list. There really is, you can move quickly, you can move cautiously, you can recon, obviously, you can attack, you can go into Overwatch defensive positions, you can take cover, you can extract from the map at the end of the game, you can call in airstrikes, you can heal up your injured guys, you can plant claymores, you can fill your water supplies, or you can overwhelm an adjacent enemy with your heavy firepower. So there's loads of things you can do, but the dice allow you to do different things and they overlap. So you have to it's a case of choosing from a menu rather than the dice telling you you can do this or you can do that. The dice sort of say, these are your options. Now pick those that you want to do based on what is happening in your game at the moment. All right. The AI moves around the map. Once they know where you are, they will hunt you down and attack. When they don't know where you are, they will look around and try to find you. There are some similarities with my previous game, Ghosts of the Jungle, but this is more complex than that, more involved, a lot more sophisticated than that was. So if you're fairly new to this kind of game, it might be worth thinking about Ghosts of the Jungle or even something like Hostage Rescue Squad, which again was a stealthy game. slightly easier than this. This is a challenging game and lots to think about. Hopefully an enjoyable one. That's Long Range Recon Patrol, available on Amazon, and no doubt one day will find its way to Wargame Vault, but it'll be a little while before it appears on there yet. Still doing my back catalogue on that one, at least at the time of recording this video. Thanks.